I want to go through these latest TriMet board videos, and I'll do them at a half hour at a time because my mind can't take more than a little dose of this shit at a time. It's similar to watching Trump. It's painful, it's painful to watch. It's like Trump is painful, but at least he's funny. At least you can laugh at him. Okay, at least he's like a clown act. It's he's an entertainer. At least these people are just they just want to rip my nails out. But let's hear what they got to say.
So, as we discussed earlier, they are key revenues, but TriMet has exceptionally strong debt coverage thanks to its low debt ceiling, currently at 7.5% of continuing revenues. So we expect to have more than adequate levels of revenue to pay all debt service.
All right. See, now I was talked about this with Neil a little bit yesterday. How in this country the government number one responsibility is to make sure the banks get paid. And anybody that's ever heard me talk, you hear me talk about how these debts are really unconscionable. That government is allowed to incur debt against future revenue. It's unconscionable because they should be operating on a cash basis, but it's corrupt. So they'll take the money today and just stick it down the road as far as who's going to pay later. And this has been standard operating procedure for decades. And eventually it's going to crash.
We were recently reviewed by Moody's, and they felt that the coverage was sufficient and adequate to see us through.
And Moody's also rated Enron AAA, just so you understand how that whole scam works.
The recessionary downturn and did not recommend any sort of further investigation. So our AAAs from Moody's are not at risk.
Like that's important. Like that's important. I mean, this is what's important is their bond rating. This is how far public transportation has gone from its actual purpose, which was to provide transportation to people. This is how far they've gone off track, where they're actually worried about their bond ratings.
My turn, and we'll shift a little bit particularly to kind of the broader strategic decisions of TriMet. I want to talk a little bit about the means of collecting fare revenue and how that's been changing so significantly over the last 2 years. All-income fare program, Hot Pass, temporarily eliminating cash fares, and of course decreased ridership, all have impacted fare revenue. Some of these changes are good for customer service, but have adverse impacts on fare generation. We'd like to know what is working well and benefiting TriMet and the riders, and what has had an adverse impact. And we also,
by the way, this is the Tax Supervising and Conservation. This is Metro. Metro is theoretically in charge of TriMet. Theoretically, it's not, but they have this system set up where these Metro people evaluate the TriMet budget. It's just window dressing, but there's a lot of good information in these meetings if you can get through them. You can get through them if you take a little bit at a time.
In addition to that, how has not accepting cash affected the district's targeted equity and inclusion group?
See, this
and is TriMet forecast?
I mean, it doesn't, they keep throwing around equity and inclusion, and it's just crap. It's just complete crap, nonsense, bullshit, lies. They just keep, this government will just keep repeating the same thing over and over, and eventually the citizens believe it. There's no equity and inclusion going on at TriMet or anywhere else. Okay, it's a smokescreen. Places like Portland, where political correctness is important and all of that agenda, they keep talking about it over and over. It doesn't exist.
Any changes in the means of collecting fares or the amount of fares collected because of those things. This is Bernie Bottomley. I'm the Executive Director of Public Affairs at TriMet, and I'll field this.
Burton Bottomley comes from a long line of Portland plutocratic family members. All of his family are in various governmental positions of high pay and huge control over the masses.
Question. If there's a silver lining in the COVID response period, and let me check, can folks hear me? I've just had a lot of yellow triangles show up on my screen. You're okay. You can hear me? Okay, great. So if there's a silver lining in this period, it may be the performance of the HOP electronic fare program. It's allowed us to continue to collect fares during this period, even though we're not accepting cash, because cash.
And that collecting fares in the middle of this pandemic and economic calamity for many people, right there tells you who these people are. They have no consideration at all for the lower classes of society. They don't even, these people are put themselves above the rest of the world. They have no heart for people. They have no soul for people. They're interested in collecting fares in the middle of a pandemic and in the middle of a huge spike in unemployment. And this is how they respond. And fares are this dinky tiny part of the operating budgets, like 14%. But here they're making this big deal about it. It's all bullshit, all of it. It's one of the greatest problems I have with the TriMet management liars is they make this, and it's going to get worse because I've heard pieces of fucking Kelsey talk about this. It's just disgraceful. They're all liars, man.
Cash has a lot of hands touching it and is a significant potential vector for the virus. Many other transit districts have had to suspend collecting any fares because they don't have an alternative like the HOP program. We were fortunate in that there was about a 50% market penetration for HOP before the crisis hit, so about half of our revenue was coming in via the HOP pass system.
Yeah, that's another New World Order benefit. I have a lot of questions about the whole COVID and the New World Order. I have a hard time believing this is all by accident. As a matter of fact, I don't believe it at all. I think this is all planned in advance.
It's a non-contact or very light contact system, so it's easy to clean the HOP readers. It's very difficult to clean money when it comes in. So it's reduced the opportunity for transmission. It also is a much quicker way of collecting fares, and the operator on the bus is farther from the operator. So as people are pausing to tap their card, they're not within that 6-foot social distancing envelope, which is helpful as well. And then adoption of the HOP card allowed us to implement the low-income fare program. It really wasn't manageable before that. And we have about 30,000 folks signed up under the low-income fare program. And so it really has allowed us to continue to serve those folks who have income limitations and for whom it's difficult to come up with a cash fare on a regular basis, full cash fare on a regular basis. We don't expect or we do expect to start accepting cash fares again in the relatively near future. We're still waiting for, obviously, the healthcare professionals to give us guidance on that. But we do expect that HOP adoption will be accelerated even more than it already has been by this period where we've been accepting only the HOP cards on the system. One of the other benefits of the HOP implementation and the low-income fare program is that we've developed significant relationships with a lot of community-based organizations. We don't make the low-income fare determinations ourselves. We partner with other organizations that serve low-income communities. They do the determination. that folks who can't afford the normal HOP program and would normally pay with cash, they can access those free HOP cards and continue to use the system. And
so full of shit.
So then, just on the equity issue, we don't think there's too much of an issue there because we have been distributing the free HOP cards because of the low-income fare program. And then
see, he's just babbling away. He's just babbling.
We're not doing fare enforcement on the buses.
On the buses.
Fare enforcement and the operators are instructed that they're fare informers, not fare enforcers. So they let folks know that
that's really working well.
Them to pay a fare. If they don't have cash, we're not giving them a ride or anything at that point. We let them know that there are outlets where they can get free HOP cards, but we still continue to allow them to ride. So for the time being, we don't think that there's a significant issue there, and we've continued to serve the community and we've not heard concerns from those community-based organizations that I mentioned we work with.
And add, thank Bernie, to this, that we watch daily what other transit agencies like ourselves are doing throughout the country. We are starting to see the early signals of some transit agencies moving back to collecting cash. We've not done that. I think right now.
The American model is a failed model. Always remember that American public transportation is a failed model. There's nothing good about it anywhere. And the fact that they can't think outside of the box is what the problem is. It's like being stuck with the Democrat and the Republican parties. Doesn't matter which party's in charge, they'll always screw us. And in the case of the public transportation industrial complex in this country, doesn't matter what we the people think. We're out of the loop. They don't care what we think, and they're very open about that.
Now we are going to hold off for at least some period of time here. I think it's
he's lying because they are conducting fair enforcement.
Use the system. Please pay. Help us keep the services going. So there's a bit of a conscience here, and we're asking people to be considerate of that. But we are watching our other agencies across the country in this evolution, but we're going to hold the line for now.
Whatever.
I think that makes sense. I had a follow-up question. I'm interested in, have you spent additional time expanding that network of agencies and community groups for the low-income fare program? I'm curious about how that might expand over the economic downturn and how you can reach out or what you're doing to reach out to additional groups to make sure that access is clear.
Yeah, and that's a great question. We have about 400 community-based organizations throughout the region now that we're partnering with on the low-income fare program, and we are working with.
And the low-income fare is bullshit, by the way, because people that can't afford fare can't afford low-income fare either. They need free fare, which is unheard of in a neoliberal hotbed like Portland, which is strictly about stealing tax money for the elites and preying on the most helpless in society. I mean, Portland, it says it's liberal. It's actually one of the most oppressive cities in the country.
With them currently to identify groups or individuals that they may not qualify for the low-income fare under the traditional measures, which has to do with the federal poverty level and so forth, and require a certain amount of time. So we're trying to identify those folks who are expected to be temporarily unemployed and may not qualify in the strict sense for under the federal guidelines, and work to get cards out into their hands as well. Yeah.
And let's remember, all of these people talking are all high six figures or somewhere over probably 200,000 a year, somewhere close to that. Nice cush jobs in offices. They don't go to work. They're at home right now. They're all getting full pay at home. Not like they ever actually had any work, because they didn't. They were just executives. You know, executives don't really work; they go to meetings.
I had one more follow-up question. I'm interested in the, I appreciate the distinction between fair informer and fair enforcer, and then that probably follows to, I'm interested how that follows with the distribution of masks and things like that, or the offering of masks, and how you're protecting your employees and also community members if there's conflict around wearing masks and things like that, as we kind of move to this next phase.
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you want to answer that, or you want me to take it?
Sure, yeah. So I think whether we're charging for $2.50 or $5, COVID or no COVID, it's not worth the conflict. We don't want to have people harmed on the system with assaults and things of that nature, where this industry sometimes has. That's one of the reasons we also, for our bus operators, made the decision, which we thought was related, it was to help our operators with assaults, frankly, but actually putting bus barriers on all buses. So that's I've just authorized about another $2.8 million to implement full bus barriers on all buses. To the mask question, so protecting our operators is really foundational here, not only for physical, but also for the virus. So these barriers are having an unintended benefit now, and we're seeing many agencies throughout the country moving this exact
Let me interrupt this because I'm having this Twitter debate with Ozzy. I actually like the guy, just so you know, but he's a I don't know what to say about him. He's quite likable. Oh, forget it.
To the mask themselves,
no way I'm supporting Ozzy.
We've undertaken this because we want the surety of, I do not want us to be at the intersection of where tracing has become more prevalent to show that transit, in fact, is the significant conduit where the tracing can catch up to us and spread this virus. So we have a really great team who's been really creative. We are creating these special boxes. We've got over 1 million masks, and I think another 1 million arrived this week, I believe. And so we're creating dispensers near the front of the bus, including hand sanitizers that we're going to be installing on all buses and trains for people for self-distribution. So the operator won't be handing them because they need to stay focused on the road and all the other elements that come with this responsibility. So we don't know how rampant this will be, but we have decided to go all in and to say we are going to be a place where people go to be safe, including masks.
What?
There are exceptions to masks. There are people, are children under 2. There are individuals.
I mean, the babble is so boring. You can barely
keep
your focus on it. I mean, it's just
so someone not have a mask.
Boring and dry.
Part of the governor's foresight and our discussions we have with them, and I personally had about a 3/4 hour discussion with the governor, briefing her on the transit protocols that she's come out with now, which I think are excellent, is if someone also is showing significant coughs or looking like they've got a problem on the way to the hospital, TriMet is going to undertake to get them there to the hospital. It may not be on the bus. We may find some other form of transportation for them to protect us spreading and being a conduit for this. So there's quite a number of layers to this. The mask is the physical symbol and a physical transaction, but there are other steps behind the scenes that we're undertaking as well. But confrontation is if that happens, then we have failed. And so...
Okay, so you heard what he said. Okay, this 5-minute fucking speech to just say what he could have just said, we don't want bus drivers getting in confrontations about the mask. That's all you have to say. We told them not to do it. Will they not do it? Who knows? They're fucking they do what they want on those buses. They're not trained. They're just, every bus driver does it differently. There is no way to know what one bus driver will do versus another bus driver.
This is about ensuring people are considerate for each other and creating an environment where people are looking out for themselves, but the consideration for others as well. So there's a delicate balance in this, but we're treating the mask inform and supply, not inform and restrict.
That's great. Thanks for being so proactive about all of this.
God, they're sucking each other.
Yeah, thank you.
I really, they just suck each other's dicks. These technocrats, they just never stop complimenting each other about how great they are. It's such a bullshit. The whole thing is such crap.
So I have the next question, and shifting gears a little bit, we're going to talk about capital investments. So the proposed budget has $300 million in capital projects, capital equipment spending, including new and replacement vehicles, state of good repair projects, and system expansion and enhancements. So included in these projects are ones to decrease the district's carbon footprint. We're wondering basically if the number and the amount of spending in these projects is still viable. It looked to us like it was the highest in at least the last several years. And if funding becomes impossible or limited, how is TriMet going to prioritize the capital projects that we're seeing in this budget?
That's a great question and a very complex topic, as you know, with capital management. So firstly, I'm able to divide this into a few different buckets. The first one is TriMet. In fact, the report is just out. I haven't reviewed yet, but TriMet has now conducted its first internal carbon baseline audit. So we need to understand where we are today, not just for the external services for the obvious significant GHG reducers or carbon footprint, both the buses and diesel. So there are a number of things that we are doing that we're adjusting. So for the first, in the operating side, what we're doing, because I look at this is all $1. There's different tax treatments called capital but operating, but they're all instruments to execute the things we need to do. So, for example, while we transition out of diesel, we've now made a decision. We are going to be moving to R99 diesel, which really reduces the footprint because many of our buses are funded through the FTA. And we have about a 16-year life cycle on them, so we don't get rid of the bus until it's finished its life cycle. So the diesel investment that we deferred that by about 6 months. We were hoping to have done it now, but we pushed it off until this one example of adjustments in the game. We still intend to do it. The price differential between base diesel and R99 with an 80-20 blend is actually a lot more favorable right now. So in about 4 months or so, we anticipate we'll lock in and start that transition to reduce our carbon footprint. So that's not a capital expenditure, but it's an example of how we manage the footprint when we manage the speed of some of these capital projects and the severity of the economy. We also have, we are also bringing in North America's very first recycled, fully articulated bus from literally Phoenix unit.
Just what we need right now. Yeah, that's
thrown away as a bus and rebuilding it from a diesel bus into North America's first recycled electric bus. So we're continuing. That will be received here. In fact, I think it's next month is when it comes in. So some of these expenditures are already in play. We will manage the trajectories that we will still achieve by 2040, and I'm going to emphasize this, or before, to be out of diesel. So what that
2045
looks like, you will accelerate some of these expenditures, hopefully through third-party funding. If the T2020 bond measure goes through, there'll be a contribution of a number of those.
Okay, they're coming with the bond, man. I mean, will people vote for it? Who knows? People fucking, as long as you have an ignorant population, the government can probably get anything it wants from them. I mean, shit. The population has no clue as to what we're talking about here. They don't think about TriMet at all, except in passing, like, oh, there goes a TriMet bus. They have no knowledge about any of the intricacies of what's happening with their transit. They know nothing.
Dollars hopefully per year into that. We'll continue to pursue federal funding, which we've been very fortunate to have, that helps us convert some of the fleet over in an accelerated way. We're also piloting retrofitting some of our existing buses as they come off. We're learning as we go here because the electric industry and the bus industry is still not mature yet in its performance. So we're even considering to accelerate converting some existing rebuilt diesel buses over to electric now. So we've got a number of those going on to continue to keep our eye on the North Star of that reduced carbon footprint. now at the tail end of our first generation of rail, and using the rail network. And so now we're having to move to state of good repair, where you have to rebuild the railway while you run it. Versus
Yeah.
a lot of those first generations built the next line, like the orange.
See, it's a never, you see why they love rail? It's like a never ending capital project. It's a never ending. Now they have to rebuild the rail. Did you hear what he just said? This is just fucking classic, isn't it? See, none of the public knows any of this. This is like the 10 of us that actually follow any of it. It's funny.
Line was in 2015. The steel bridge is a great example, as I talked about earlier, of you have to spend to stay in the game.
Yeah.
What we are not going to do
now?
is we are not going to, as I said in my opening remarks, compromise safety. So there are elements we have in our capital portfolio that are the year in question, a few years out, and long term. A number of our capital projects are at the high point now of cash flow, where they're being deployed. So we have a Powell Garage, for example, that we're rebuilding right now. I think it's about a $130 million project. So we have to rebuild buildings old, and so some of them are absolutely just going to get done. Division Transit is another example. We're investing for the long term. Our strong partnership with the FDA. So if we can get
Complete pork that needs to go away, but it won't. You know, it's just the same old story. You know, the money will go to the people that already have the money, and that's how it always goes in this great country of ours. A division is a pork barrel that's not necessary right now, okay? It's obviously not. I don't even have to argue that point. That should be obvious to anybody. That the better red is complete pork. Division is pork. Southwest Corridor should have been stopped a long time ago. But they're going to go full steam ahead and hope that they can fool the public. I remember listening to one of these meetings, and I didn't comment on it publicly or in a video like this, but they were talking about how they have to word it to make sure people will vote for it. I mean, they were out in the open saying, well, we have to figure out how the wording should be so that people will vote yes. And they admitted it. So, I mean, they know what they're doing. They know they're trying to manipulate the public here. And they do it because nobody really understands. Nobody's paying any attention to any of this. Nobody cares but me and a couple other people.
Cheap federal dollars, so to speak, of our budget. We're going to continue to do those based on our affordability.
And also, I just watched a great video by, oh man, it was so good. It was just fucking fantastic. It was, let me see. It's one of the subscriptions. I have subscriptions I watch every morning. Okay. It was 19.
In this video, we're going to revisit the stock market crash of 1929.
Okay. This is Gold Silver, it's called. And it's a YouTube channel. Anyway, he went over, this guy's highly educated. He's written books about all of this and et cetera. And anyway, he went over the first Great Depression, which none of us that are alive today, Mom would have been alive, but she's not. I mean, only the very old people will remember this. I mean, really old. We don't know what that is in our generation. But he went over this very clearly. And what's coming at us is going to be just like that. Okay, all of these leaders and financial advisors and mainstream media and the stock market fraud, keeps going up and up, but he went over how it was the Fed printing money that actually led to the worst depression in history. And now they're doing it on steroids. So this is going to end very badly, and it always ends badly for the weakest people among us because the economy is a fraud. It's 100% fraud. It's made up. And they use that as the way to manipulate human beings.
The Southwest Corridor is another example of a very long-term project, but that will be triggered through a set of complex hoops, including the T2020 ballot, which is due up through Metro's meeting this fall. So we divide short, medium, and long-term capital, which these different streams of expenditure that are underway right now. So we have a complex portfolio. Some of our state of the repair has more flexibility. When do you replace an elevator? It doesn't have to be that year. You have flexibility levers at our disposal to manage the timeliness of its performance, whether it be a vehicle replacement.
See how he just babbles and babbles and babbles, just babbles.
Car, let alone to a rail car, which is about $150 million expenditures that are flowing through right now. So it's the big heavy expenditures. Once you're in, you're in. It's those smaller ones where we've got flexibility. When do you upgrade that next station? I think that gives us a fair amount of latitude to balance a large capital portfolio. So I don't know if anyone else wants to comment on this as well. Or if I've adequately answered your question.
Thanks. I mean, I think that was a really good answer. I did just want to ask, I guess, one minor thing, and I know we're limited on time. So that last part of what you talked about, I think that is the right answer of being able to, ramp down and ramp up other things. Given how long some of these projects take, I mean, even a minor project like replacing an elevator, I imagine has, 6 months, longer of like kind of lead up and public, information and that kind of thing. Do you feel like, given that our circumstances are changing so quickly right now, that, you do feel comfortable that you're kind of able to ramp up and ramp down these capital projects in order to stay in line with expected funds?
Well, one thing I learned a long time ago, in roles like this, you should never feel comfortable to start with. That is a challenge, is trying to anticipate longevity of lead times. Because sometimes, like the steel bridge, for example, we are actually at a decision, are we going to go or not, literally this week. So some parts in rail being manufactured overseas, that's about a year and a half of their lead time, just to build up to have them manufactured to arrive to activate whether we go or not. So we have some flexibility on timing. So you have to manage supply chain issues with each project, and that is going to continue to be a challenge. If we will, depending on where we think the finances and the flexibility of the organization's financial circumstances are, those where we have latitude, we are already holding back. So as soon as it kicked in, in sort of mid to late March, COVID-19 immediately started a review. I personally went through with every single department, every single capital project. Where can we defer, de-scope, etc. And so we started peeling back the obvious ones and some that are already underway, just as we're in, can't stop it. So some that had flexibility before we activated, I put those on hold immediately. So it's going to be an imperfect dance while we manage long lead times and those are some of the variables we all factor into our decisions. And in fact, there's new things that emerged that we hadn't even anticipated. We have some IT expenditures that were not anticipated that if we want to be in the business, we got to do it. Something where they're R&D related a little bit, where we play on that edge of innovation. And this agency is really good at this space. We're pulling our horns in a little bit right now.
That makes sense. Thank you so much for the clarification.
Okay, I have the final question. And this has to do with some of the comments you made in your earlier remarks, Mr. Kelsey. And that's all the balancing that you do and focusing on not only the short-term issues, but over the long run. And this is kind of a long-run question. We've noticed in the last 4 of the last 5 years that ridership has decreased. But beginning of this year, we saw ridership was beginning to increase significantly. Then came, of course, the pandemic, which caused the huge loss that you'd already talked about. So how has the district contemplated the long-term effects of the decreased ridership?
Okay, let's hear
and
that.
How will the district lure riders back, not just in the short-term issue, but over the long run after the pandemic is over?
Yeah, that's a great question. I start from the basics. I came from the private sector as well. I've been in
that's the problem.
Choice, wanting to work around the customer environment my whole career. And been through where oil prices have literally gone to zero before as well. So the dynamics of a changing environment was we behave continue to be as a customer-centric organization, but a semi-utility type of approach. We are going to have to look at managing our customer segments in different ways, in my opinion. So, as an example, we've actually activated a Bernie Bottomley we heard from earlier this morning, is leading for us all a ridership recovery group. We need to understand.
They have a ridership recovery group staffed by executives. Oh, that's comforting, isn't it? Oh, I better plug this in. Come on.
And listen to our customers. New segment.
Listen.
Many folks are going to be working from home more on a continuous basis than ever have before, I would suggest. So those are customers we may not see on a Monday to Friday basis. There may be 1, 2, 3 days where they're now working from home where they did before. Conversely, I think there's some other folks, due to the pain of the economy, I think are opportunistic for us to where they may have been driving their cars, maybe opportunities for us that we haven't contemplated. So I think we need to look at segmentation of our customers. And this is where I think Bernie Bonnelly spoke earlier. Our hot cards will pay, I think, is significant dividends for this agency, because we were basically a paper agency, like most agencies were. I could get paper transfers. But we didn't know where they got on, got off.
Who cares? Why do you need to know that? You don't need to know any of that.
Now, we're going to have to be.
Now it's the brave new world. They want to know everything. Okay, they want to know everything. They want to know everything about you. They're going to inject you with microchips. This, I'm glad I'm old and getting closer to the void by the day. I don't want to even be around when this shit's going on.
Evolving in our sophistication to understand the customers more and look.
What do you mean understand the customer? There's nothing to understand. They need to get from point A to point B. They need to do it in a efficient, reasonably safe, and comfortable fashion. That's all there is to this. But these bureaucracies have turned this into a fucking unbelievable nightmare.
So I think we're in a very different time right now.
No
I'm
shit.
optimistic that, like any business, when you put more service out, it takes for a while for service to come. So open a retail store and you're at mature.
That's me grinding my coffee in the background.
Of any kind.
Did Tryman put in these up?
HD17. That money has not been spoken about this morning, but that's a really important decision by the legislature of the state. And so that's a revenue scheme that will help us in our recovery for putting new services.
Tryman still has not put out the video.
In addition to the funding we want to have to restore service from the 20% bus cuts back up. So we are going to have to learn to probably market more. So I think we're going to have to put more money into our marketing.
They want.
So these are
Did you hear that? They're going to put more money into marketing. Oh my God! It's just looking unfucking believable shit, isn't it? Unfucking believable.
Where we're going to have to invest as opposed to it's just not all going to be cost cutting. So I think that plus coming out with new products, and we're doing things like Wi-Fi on the system. We're going to have to look at what I'll refer to as a value proposition. I think in the years ahead, we're actually piloting right now a headset to it in potentially in multiple languages.
I got to hand it to him. I could never do his job. It's true. I mean, I could never get it. I would never be able to bullshit like this. I mean, no matter how hard I tried, and I'm not stupid, but I'm not able to. I don't know how he just does this. I mean, he just goes on and on, right? I'm sure he doesn't have any notes. He's just.
Get to a different segment when we actually have capacity available, as an example. So,
oh my God!
And how do we use that with low cost to leverage our existing very precious asset base of about $6 billion? So I think that'd be in addition to these other large investments. The Southwest Corridor, as an example, if it goes, is the largest greenhouse gas reducer, and that's about 37,500 rides a day once you hit maturity. The Division Transit project is going to reduce travel time.
Yeah, sure, it's going to do that.
We're closing train stations to speed the system up.
Yeah,
so
right.
Look at our existing portfolio. What can we do with what we have today to squeeze the asset or make these assets sweat differently to bring a better experience to totality?
I'm sorry about the noise.
That's very perceptive of you.
It's very perceptive. Yeah, they just can't stop sucking each other's dicks. It is so fucking disgusting. I can't go on with this right now. That's enough. End of part 1.